Why is this a great image? Why do these yellow high-top shoes make this a great image? This is part of a new series looking at images and what makes them great. I've worked in images for over 25 years, studied images at university, looked at semiotic analysis, worked as a picture librarian, a picture researcher, picture editor. I've worked as a marketing director, and I've worked as an artist. And I love images. But in a world of AI, where AI can analyse an image as much as we can, why does it really matter? Well, it matters what you think. It matters what I think. It matters what you care about. It matters what resonates with you. So in this short series, I'm going to be looking at images that matter to me. We're going to look at why they work, apply semiotic analysis to understanding them, and showcase them for the great creators that made them. Why is the image from Ready or Not just so good? I mean, really good. Something particularly captivating about this one. I'm going to look at breaking down this image using semiotic analysis. This is as much about me understanding why images appeal to me. When I first saw this image, it was immediately grabbing, and it comes down to one thing: contrast. And contrast works on a number of levels. First, let's just look at what's obvious about this. The image of Samara weaving is immediately a standout in terms of her white wedding dress against the dark background around her. This is the most obvious type of contrast, the tonal one, between light and dark around the image. Let's look at the heavy use of shadow around her face, around her body. To demonstrate how tone or value works, we can simply take the colour out of this image and look at it as a grayscale image, and then you'll be able to see very clearly simply lights and darks and how well this works in black and white. So as you can see, it still reads really well in black and white. We've got strong contrasts, so even without the yellow ochre colour, you can read Samara's wedding dress and the central image very clearly. And then let's combine the second level of contrast that's going on here, which is the very feminine dress itself with the juxtaposition with the bandolier and the weapons. So immediately you've got a sense of interest for the viewer in terms of contrast in the image so that it stands out, and contrast between different aspects of the image. Now, when we look at this from a semiotic point of view, there are three types of analysis that we use in semiotics. So semiotics, which is the study of signs and symbols and how we communicate, we've got three areas to look at. We've got icons, we've got indexes, and we've got symbols. Icons are what something is. So literally, this is an image of a woman or an image of a weapon. Indexes are about a causal link between what you see and what's happening. So if there is smoke above the fire here, there's no smoke without fire, so we see the smoke, we assume there must be a fire. So even if the fire wasn't here, there is a causal link between things. And then finally, symbols is about what do the elements of the image represent beyond the image themselves. So we might think about, what does the wedding dress represent beyond it being simply a wedding dress, which brings us into concepts of femininity, of marriage. Potentially, given its white wedding dress, the old-fashioned approach of virginity or innocence. We can deconstruct the image by working through these different elements to see what's going on. Fundamentally though, this image works so well because of contrast, because of the way it juxtaposes different elements. So we have contrast of tone, by which I mean light and dark, and we have contrast of elements, so wedding dress, and weapons. There's a secondary level after you've been grabbed, which is a more of a narrative one, and there will be no spoilers in this around the film, but there's clearly a sense of what is going on here. The Ready or Not title is what's known as anchorage, which is to give a preferred meaning to the elements around it. So Ready or Not then starts to make us think about
the game hide and seek.
This may or may not be apparent in the image, but it does give us a particularly nuanced one way around how to read the image. The other thing that's going on here, which is less to do with semiotics and more to do with the way the image is constructed, is simply how the composition works. We have the central figure, and then we have the weapons acting as directional devices to drive our eye back into the image and down into the image, and then directly at us. So we're engaged by Samara Weaving's gaze at us as the viewer, and the crossbow and eye contact from the characters looking directly at us. Everyone else surrounds Samara's character, and this creates this band of darkness around the figure which draws our eye, and this is strengthened more by the darkness around her face and eyes. Now let's look at this from the perspective of a different poster for the same film for a different culture. I believe this to be the Japanese version of the poster. I'm not sure if this is official or not, if you know, please pop a comment below. But in this version of the poster, the key elements have been used, but some things have been changed, as you can probably tell. So our image of Samara Weaving is the same in the middle, and she is surrounded with the directional images and the figures in darkness. However, the background has been replaced with this much lighter version, lighter and brighter and warmer colour. Brighter and warmer. The crossbow figure has been removed, and so we now have our fire at the bottom and warmth, and we also have this above, which for me means we've lost some of that lovely contrast that was here before. All of this which was dark on the previous image has now gone. Now there are cultural differences in different countries, so if you're in Japan and you can tell me why this might have been done, please do, that would be really useful to know. But for me the contrast doesn't work as well, so the figure's not as clear. Let's look at another example. This is fantastic. I absolutely love these yellow shoes. High top Converse, classic design, juxtaposed with the wedding dress and the title from Ready or Not. This is brilliant. Again, we've got our contrast going on here. Bold colour choice with our reds, clearly signifying blood. So we've got our symbol here. We've got symbol of blood. Rather than being a literal image of blood, there's a symbolic, abstracted quality to it. And clearly this denotes that this is a horror film or thriller. And once again, we're back to talking about contrasts. So the wedding dress contrasted with her yellow high top Converse. And I believe that Avery Blues, who was the costume designer on the film, whilst the dress tearaway is scripted and so are the shoes, particularly wanted the yellow version of the trainers in order to really pop on screen, which they do. And so you've got this great sense of contrast going on that works so well both in the film and on the poster. And they work as a contrast because you've got the formality of the wedding dress and the rugged, action, casual nature of the trainers. But it's done so well, and these choices have been made so well. This is what makes this really pop. This film and its campaign is full of these little choices all the way through it that are constructed so well on the fundamental sense of contrast throughout this, and that runs as a theme throughout the narrative and throughout the campaign. It's really beautifully done and one to celebrate.
Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mine.